bossy, we bossy now. Sure. Welcome to the Style and Vibes podcast with me, Michaela. I'll be giving you the inside scoop on music, fashion, culture, and more from Caribbean celebrities and tastemakers across the globe, pushing our culture with authenticity and, of course, style and vibes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Style and Vibes podcast with me, Michaela. I hope you guys are doing well. If you are new to the family, welcome, and make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and make sure so that you guys don't miss any future episodes. And if you want to check out past episodes, you can do that here on the podcast where you're listening, as well as on styleandvibes.com. You can also sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss anything while going round here. So today we're going to be talking about Reggae Sumfest, or a taste of Reggae Sumfest, as they are calling it this year. The virtual festival took place over the weekend, and I had to do a recap. I did a previous recap of last year's show, which was a live show that they also live streamed. But this year it was all digital, all virtual for everyone. So we're going to get into that. But of course, first I got to share what I'm styling on and vibing to. So this week is going to be a little different, and so is going forward. I'm only going to share a little bit here because we have a new series on our YouTube channel, exclusively to our YouTube channel, extending styling on and vibing to a little bit, so you can check out the full extension of what I'm styling on and vibing to. I'm going to release it with every episode so that you guys have a chance to check that out as well. So I'll share a little bit here and then give the extended version on YouTube. So make sure you guys head over to YouTube. The link to that is this series is in the show notes as well. But this week I am styling on Shensia's Pretty Little Things ambassadorship, as well as Kabaka Pyramid's Babylon Fallen. Again, you can check out more and all that I'm talking about in the Styling on Vibe Into series on YouTube. So Reggae Sumfest has traditionally done a really great job of putting on a festival that is really based in Jamaica, showcasing Jamaican talent produced by Jamaica's finest creators. And I think that is no different this year. So with all the festivals being canceled or most going virtual, Reggae Sumfest also decided to do a virtual festival as to not skip over the year, but give us a taste of that experience if you were to travel. And it's great promotion for next year. So hopefully there will be a show next year. But in the meantime, everyone was able to simultaneously view it on any device, really, because it was streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube simultaneously. So we had all the options to tune in that we needed for the 2 days. So there was 2 days of festivals, and in classic Sumfest form, they had some events throughout the week. So they also did a spotlight on a few of the artists that previously performed. So they had Lady Saw, Elephant Man, Reggae King, Cocoa Tea, Coffee, Beres Hammond, Massacre, Spice, Idonia, Cartel, Mavado, and Shabba Ranks. So they previewed those clips, and those are clips from previous performances that they had. So they featured those on all of their social channels to kind of build up that momentum for the performances that they had on the Friday and Saturday, which is usually traditionally when the show kind of is anyway. So I think the timing was pretty perfect. They also supplemented with a few creator workshops, which were sponsored by Facebook and Pandora. So it really went into the depth of things and opportunities from a music perspective on these different platforms. I didn't actually get to tune in, but it seemed like really cool opportunity, especially for younger artists and artists coming up, or if you want to be an artist, if you want to be in the music business, just to understand how these platforms play a role in music. I think that's key. I think the interesting one for me is Facebook. It kind of seems like they're trying to make a big play on the music front, similar to what YouTube is doing. So excited to kind of see how that progresses and grows. As you know, many DJs are going live since all of the pandemic stuff has happened. So it will be interesting to see how Facebook progresses in this space. Pandora has been around forever, and it's definitely a platform that is still being used to consume music because their playlist algorithms are one of the first that we kind of heard from in terms of getting it right from a catalog perspective. They also had some creators panels. So it was marketed like a panel, but it was more kind of like a fireside chat because it was a one-on-one conversation. So there was Jessie Wu and Spice, as well as Stefan Bristol, who is the film director behind See You Yesterday. And he did a sit down with Major Hype. Both of those also were exclusive to the Facebook feeds and on their social platforms. So if you get a chance to kind of go back and check out those, I think that those are pretty cool because it kind of gives you the artist perspective and like their elements. It's just kind of like listening to an interview with those two who are very prominent. Even the interview hosts, they're also very prominent as well in terms of their respective craft or creating things for mass markets and just having an idea, putting it out there that is not necessarily always music related, but it kind of commingles. So check those out as well. So on to the main event in terms of performances. So they split the night into two, which is night one and night two. And they had a plethora of different performers. They opened the night with Mutabaruka, who of course had some inspiring words for everyone during this time. And I think what he really talked about was the importance of a positive message in reggae music. And I'm paraphrasing, but he is reinforcing the idea of keeping that positive vibration in terms of music and messaging, and echoing the idea that reggae music has always been a music to uplift the oppressed. So Black people, people of color all around the world, and even people who are not of color really gravitate towards reggae music because of its sound and its positive message. So I thought that was a great opener from him, a definite reminder that, you know, you kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you are exploring new music, and just taking that into account. I thought that was a significant start to the festival, especially in these times. So they really dug in the crate. Well, I don't know if necessarily they dug in the crate. They just, you know, got some artists that were popular in the 90s to open up. So Shaka Demus and Pliers, Tanto Metro and Devante and Frisco Kid really held their own. And I hope I don't sound horrible when I say this, but our stars are aging pretty gracefully. A lot of them, they performed very well. They performed as well as I remembered seeing them previously. And I think that is amazing. I think that is kind of like goals for artists that they don't really know that they have. Because if you can create a good 10 hits that you can later tour with, like there are artists that continue to tour without releasing new music. But if they do release new music, it just makes it that much easier because they're already in performance mode. Anyway, I'm kind of going off topic. But Shaka Demus and Pliers, they were really great. Pliers was looking real nice. So same with Tata Metro and Devante. They both had on their suit and they were engaged with each other and they did all their classics, of course. Shaka Demus and Pliers did Murder, She Wrote. Tata Metro did, and Devante did Everyone Falls in Love. All them tunes that way you know and love. Frisco Kid, it's almost like you forget how good he is and how many hits he's had until you see him perform. But he was definitely bringing that 90s energy and vibes, especially in the early part of the show for the Friday night segment. And then, so what they did was they took it to the new generation of dancehall. So they had Daddy One and Chronic Law. I really liked Daddy One's energy. The Bro God energy kind of definitely came with that energy. Chronic Law did not have as much energy, but I do like his lyrical content. So I was able to kind of hear him and vibe with him. The good thing is that they still have time to grow as artists. So I'm definitely going to continue to watch them. Daddy One for me had better energy than Chronic Law, but I think that there was positives to both. Of course, Shauna always bring bring some kind of vibes to her show. She definitely, raw and unfiltered. That's what I should say. Shauna is very unfiltered, but she had to be filtered because this was a family show. So she did do her performance, but she did get a little edgy, and of course performing her equal rights and justice song, of course, was the highlight of her performance. But I really like Shauna. She has a good energy. She's great on stage. She can work with a band. So I like her, and I'm just like, why don't I hear more from her? But I know she has been releasing music. I know she's done some stuff during quarantine, so we'll try to bring that back and highlight that in a later show. So, of course, the Ramesh camp, TJ, Shensia, and Ding Dong. So they actually ordered it Ding Dong, Shensia, and then TJ. But I think that they should have reordered it to TJ, Shensia, and Ding Dong, because Ding Dong's energy with the Rivers, Clavers, oh my gosh, it was top notch. It really stole the show for me in terms of just the high energy and the excitement that, the night one usually brings anyway. Shensia did a really good job as well. I have seen her perform in person, and she definitely got into it when she got to Blessed, and I think she was kind of, you could tell, and I don't know her or her team or whatever, but you can tell that she was really thinking about her mom. Her mom recently passed, but she's like holding out her arms and looking up and kind of, feeling that energy. You could tell she was really excited to just be back on stage, but she wasn't all the way there like she normally is, but definitely was good to see her. I'm sure she even mentioned just missing performing, and this is her first performance since the entire quarantine situation, and of course since the untimely passing of her mom. So big ups to her. She definitely did her thing. TJ, I love TJ. Oh my gosh, I love him as an artist, but his performance, I could not hear him. Like, I don't know. It was just the way maybe he was holding the microphone. I don't know. It was just off-putting for me because I couldn't hear all the lyrics, and he has really good double play. Like, he's always like, I don't know. There was something for me there that was missing with his performance, and I think it was a little longer. You could tell that he really had a certain level of excitement to be on the stage, and he really wanted to be there, and that really came through, but I could not hear him a lot of the time. So even though I know the songs and I wanted to sing along, it was kind of hard to just hear the lyrics over the excitement. Maybe he was just overly excited. I'm not sure, but he did do a good performance. But for me, I think if they had switched Ding Dong and TJ, maybe that would also have swayed. The order matters, people. The order matters. So I'm not sure if that would have made a huge difference, but I thought that was something that would have made a difference for me. There was a new artist, Marcy Chin. I have not heard of her. She did one song, and that was really it. I don't know much about her, so definitely gonna check some more out in terms of who she is and what she's been doing. She only did one song, so but she also had like hosting bits in between. They had like different intermission, the intro, and then at the end she kind of did a skit. There were like skits in between that she did, so I thought that was cute. Conscience, of course, he brings his classic energy. He did a few of his hits. And one thing I have to say is that, like, they really did it as a taste. So the artists really didn't go through their entire catalog, and they really only did maybe 1 or 2 minutes of each song, if that. So they really didn't get as in depth each for night 1, it was maybe 2.5 hours, and then night 2 was about 2 hours. So Conscience kind of ran through a lot of his songs, but he definitely was excited to be there, and I loved his energy. He even brought out a newer artist named Daini, and but his performance was just shorter than I had anticipated, because I thought, he would probably have been on a little bit longer. But I loved his performance. He always does a pretty good job of just bringing that energy, mixing that dancehall. And then he came back for night 2, and I'll get to that in the next segment when I talk about night 2. So Agent Sasco closed out the first night. He did songs like Winning Right Now, Local, Banks of the Hope, As a Man, and he definitely ended it perfectly in terms of just his performance and his skill set. It was a little low energy to be closing at the end of the night, which is something that I did miss, but then he kind of ramped it up a bit, and I really enjoyed that part of how he kind of ramped it up high, and then kind of just ended it really on a high note. So that was it for night 1. There were actually more artists on night 1 than there were on night 2. So on night 2, it kind of echoed my thoughts about night 1. The artists are really aging well, and not that most of the artists are old. They have a bit of a catalog, and they still bring that same energy. They bring their same style to the stage, and really and truly enjoy themselves while performing their songs. Third World actually received a Lifetime Achievement Award, so that is, of course, very well earned, because they just do so much work for reggae and the community across the globe. So congrats to them. Egyptian actually started out night 2, and he sounded exactly the same. And I think he's one of those underrated but cemented mainstays of reggae, because he has a good number of hits in that lovers rock space. So he has Hold You, I Can Feel Your Pain, Beautiful Lady. He was wearing this crazy poncho, though. I don't know what that was about, but I think he was ready for Gilbert, the second coming of Wild Gilbert, instead of COVID. But, it was interesting. It's very Kanye-esque, the gray poncho suit thing. I didn't like the outfit, but his performance was pretty good. And he sounds exactly the same as his records, as he sounds when you see him live. So he really did put on a great performance. Freddie McGregor, oh my gosh, I absolutely loved him. I loved him because he has a really extensive catalog too. And as you kind of listen and you get re-familiarized, because now for me, it made me want to go back and listen to some more Freddie McGregor. And what I liked about him, he introduced a new song, but his new song actually sounded like it belonged in his catalog. And what he did was he sandwiched it between songs that people knew, and then ended with a classic. So I think that is a really great way to intro new music to newer audiences, especially when they are so used to getting the classics from you. And actually, Tonto Metro and Devante, they did the same thing. They introduced one new song, but they sandwiched it between two songs that were really well known, and it really felt seamless. It didn't bother you that they were cutting into their catalog to share this new song, because sometimes it does feel a bit jarring as someone in the audience to hear new songs at the wrong time. But I think that they picked the optimal time in their set to introduce new music and then get back to the classics. Maxi Priest don't age at all. He looks exactly the same. He had on these sunglasses and his hat. It was actually his first virtual performance ever. And I think a lot of the artists, he talked about it in one of his after interviews. A lot of the artists are trying to get used to performing for like 10 people, even though 20,000, 30,000 plus people are watching them virtually, but they can't see them. They can't feel them. So to perform in a studio and bring the same level of energy that you would to a festival or a stage show, it's a bit more challenging for them because there's no energy to feed off of except for the people in the studio. And most of the people in the studio, they're working. So they can't jump up. The cameraman can't jump up and heel up and two-finger gun salute and pa 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 pa. You know, they're in their own element and they're doing their work as well. So I think him talking about that on camera was really important because a lot of times we have to give these artists grace to grow and develop into new technologies that they haven't really experienced before. My girl Coffee did come in at with Rapture. She is definitely growing as a performer, and while her stage presence isn't big, I think her songs are so good that you kind of just zone out singing the songs and enjoying her. You can tell she really enjoys her catalog. Even though she doesn't have a long catalog, she is someone that people just love everything that she comes out with. Since she's kind of come on the scene, everything that she has released, a lot of people really, really love it. She definitely has a kind of formula that works for her. And, you know, she works well with a band. Some of the deeper notes that she hits were a little harder to hear just because she's already so soft-spoken. So I think that that's something that she'll work out on. But aside, I know I just talked about the people in the studio, but as they were kind of zoning out, as she was doing her latest song, Lockdown, and even you can hear people in the studio kind of like, so maybe they were watching or some other artists were watching and they were kind of hyping her up because as they kind of turned down the audio on her and the band, you could hear people in the background whistling and clapping and in the background of the actual video. So if you didn't hear it, you can go back and try to listen to it. But it's just one of those details that I kind of pay attention to. So I liked it. I really enjoyed her performance and she did a great job. Sizzla Kalonji, him take it for me for the whole thing. So I know it was just a taste of Sumfest, but Sizzla made you feel like jumping out your seat, putting up your Black Lives Matter t-shirt, holding up your fist, everything. And what I really love, let me back it up. What I really love is before they got to his performance, they featured a lot of the work that he is doing in his township called Augusttown community in Jamaica. So, you know, he's building community centers and kind of keeping people in the community busy doing work, getting the community self-sufficient and to kind of help the people in the community thrive. And he really spoke about using music to spread the message of positivity, Rastafarian culture, and then using parts of his income to invest back into the community. Imagine if all these artists, and there's not an obligation, but you know, it's something to kind of think about, and it helps you understand the motives of artists when they do things like this. And his foundation he's had for years, and he's been doing this work for years, but I think it was the first time that I had seen it presented and featured in this way. It really showed him and people of the community what they were doing, the progress that they were making. So I thought that was cool. Outside of his on fire performance, he kind of literally tore the house down. Of course, he said it was the 27th anniversary of, I can't remember, is it Black Woman and Child? I think that is his first album. Didn't even realize it was that long ago, but wow. Sizzla of catalog, and he's always, you know, a really great performer, but he just tore the stage down. And I think quite literally everybody at home who was watching, who was able to tune in, was definitely out of their seats by the end of it because he did such a phenomenal job. So If you haven't gotten to watch any of the Sumfest videos, make sure you do that. It is our festival by our people, showcasing our talent and our style. So make sure you guys check that out. It's the only Caribbean festival that I've seen coming out of the Caribbean that has been digital festival, like official performance festival. So there have been other things that have happened, but not, I don't think to this degree. If I'm wrong, you can definitely at me or correct me, not mine. But this is the first one that I have seen, with this level of quality. So definitely big up the whole Sumfest team for even putting it on, because technically they didn't have to, but they definitely felt obligated and a responsibility to the culture to keep it going. So make sure you guys keep it locked. I am going to be releasing a bonus episode next week. It's going to feature Savannah. I love her so much. So we have a really great conversation that is going to be released next Monday, and it's going to drop right after her release. Her EP is called Be Somebody, which drops on Friday, July 31st. So make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss it. Until next time, later, my peeps. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Style and Vibes podcast. If you like what you hear, and I know you do, share it with your friends and family. If you want more, make sure you visit styleandvibes.com and follow us on our social channels, Twitter and Instagram at Style and Vibes. Until next time, later, my peeps.